So let's start. So thank you all for joining the webinar for the new release of TIS Analyzer version 1.47. Clément, our trainer, will present you let's say the main new features which will be a part of this new software release, and we'll share with you all the benefits you may enjoy with this latest release. The goal of these new features is really to simplify your life when you are analyzing your source code. And so we'll share this. This will be a split of presentation plus real demo on some example code. And then we'll have 15 or 20 minutes of time available for questions and answers, or eventual questions, specific questions you may have about these new features. So now I will give the mic to Clément. Clément, it's up to you to start.
So, welcome everyone to this seminar on what's new in version 1.47. So, as you know, TrustInSoft is committed to improving the product and services. And as part of that process, we thought that it would be a good idea, since version 1.47 of TrustInSoft Analyzer is coming out likely by the end of the month. It's being tested internally right now, the release candidates, so it should be out by next week. We thought that it would be a good idea to have a seminar with where we invite some of our users and present the features that will be available in version 1.47. I will not be presenting all of the features. We have identified 6 features that we wanted to highlight. So as Vincent said, I will present them by alternating between my slides and a live demonstration. There will be dedicated time for questions. So if you have questions, please wait for those times. And without further ado, I will start with the first thing that we wanted to talk to you about, the TrustInSoft Project Manager, TIS. The goal of the TrustInSoft Project Manager is to centralize all of the activities that you have around the analyzer into one tool. So what kind of activities am I talking about? Well, it could be to create a skeleton configuration for a new analysis. It could be to prepare your environment for analysis, like generating a configuration database, generating header files, maybe setting up the path, for example. It could be looking at what analyses you have that are available that you can run either in the GUI or just for the report. It could be to actually run one of those analyses and open the GUI. It could be maybe that you want to run multiple analyses, maybe in parallel to save time, to make most use of your CPUs, of your tokens, and generate a report more quickly. Could be to actually generate that report, or it could be to do all of that from scratch. You're maybe in a new environment or in a new container in a CI, and you want to clone your project and then prepare the environment, run all of the analyses, and generate a TIS report. Maybe you want to do all of that. And before, if you wanted to do any of that with any sort of automation, you would need to write your own script. Well, now we offer you one command that does all of that, TIS, T-I-S. This is the heart of the TrustInSoft Project Manager. Now, TIS is really inspired by a tool like Git, in that it actually does nothing on its own. It actually uses subcommands. So you want to create a skeleton configuration for a new analysis, you use TIS init. You want to prepare the environment, you use TIS prepare. You want to list your analysis, TIS list. You want to run one analysis and open the GUI, you use TIS inspect. And if you're like me and you don't like calling it the inspector, you also have an alias TIS GUI. You want to run multiple analyses, that's possible with TIS run. Generate a report with TIS report without the dash. And do all of that, TIS replay all. And we also threw in some additional functionality in there, like TIS check config, TIS show, TIS stash, that I will come back to later. So let's switch to a demonstration. So for this demonstration, I will be using the TinyCrypt open source library. So it's a library developed by Intel. It's a small cryptographic library that we use a lot for demonstrations at TrustInSoft. And so, yeah, I just cloned it. I'm on master, and I want to start doing an analysis of that project. Well, I will do this init, and you will see it will create for me a bunch of files. It will create a TrustInSoft prepare.sh, tstubs.c, config.json, a git ignore to actually put all of those files into Git properly. So let's start with the prepare.sh. This is your preparation script. So often when you want to do an analysis, you actually need to perform some steps before you can actually run the analysis. So that will be generating some files, generating a compilation database, setting up the environment, and so on. And so we often advise you to have a script to prepare all of that. Well, now that is a bit standardized. You have this script. You can see it's full of comments. We actually offer you a kind of skeleton for what you can put in that file, what you should put in that file. So for example, if you need to download some dependency, you should do it there. If you want to configure the project, you should do it there. If you want to compile the project and generate a compilation database, you should do it there. And actually, that's something I want to do. So I want to generate a compilation database. So I'll do my compilation command. So that should be it. And I'll also add a make clean just to make it a bit proper. Okay, so now I think that's my prepare script done. If I want to run it, I can just run now this prepare, and it will compile and generate a compilation database for me. So now I have my compile commands.json. We also have in the TrustInSoft folder a skeleton configuration. So again, this is a starting, no, TrustInSoft config.json with a skeleton configuration with lots of comments telling you what you want, what you can use. So me, for example, I have a compilation database. I have that. Mashdep, yeah, that's nice. You can see there's a default S level, there's a default val plugin activated. There's also a default configuration that you can use to parse all of your files at once. This is also something we recommend. But again, everything in there is optional. You can edit it as you want. Now, I won't edit that live. This will take a lot of time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cheat a bit and jump directly into some files that I have already prepared. So now I'm in a state where I have already prepared my configuration. I have already run some things. So what I can do is I can do this check config, and it will actually verify that my configuration is correct to be used as a TrustInSoft configuration file. So no more times where you forgot a comma or you wrote something that does not make sense for the analyzer. Now this check config can check, and this check config is basically run before any of the TIS commands. So it will always check that the configuration is correct before feeding it into the analyzer. Now that I have that, I can do this list to see all of my configurations. So here you can see I have 29 different analysis configurations that are already made. And you can see, so some of them have already results that are available, so I don't need to run them again. Some of them have state files. If you use the -save and -load feature of TrustInSoft Analyzer, you'll be glad to know that this is completely integrated into the TrustInSoft Project Manager. So here I have saved the results for this analysis. And so if I wanted to run it, say in the GUI, I would not need to run it from scratch. I could just load the state file. You can also see that some analyses have alarms, have degenerations, have non-terminating statements. So yeah, I have a list here of all of my analyses. If I want a kind of shorter summary, I can do this show. This show will give me a summary. It's very similar to the first page of the TIS report. So it tells me how many analyses have alarms, no alarms, and how many fail, how many alarms in total have been found, and give me a short statement about the coverage. Now, if I wanted to look at one analysis, I could use TIS-inspect to start the analysis and start the GUI. So TIS-inspect, I can give it the number or I can give it the name of the analysis. So let's give it this name, for example. And you can see it will load the configuration, start my analysis, parse the files, and so on. And at the end, start the GUI. I will not jump in the GUI yet. So I said it was fully integrated with -save and -load. So for example, if I try to load the analysis number 5, this one has a state file. And so you can see that it will not start parsing the files and so on. It will directly put me into it will directly start the GUI server so that I can get into the GUI right away. So that's if you want to run the TrustInSoft GUI. You may also want to run your analysis without a GUI. So if you just want the results for a TIS report, for example, so that's done with TIS run. And so TIS run, I can again give it the name of an analysis. I can give it a number. I can give it a range of numbers like this. There's all sorts of various filters that I can use to select which ones I want to run. I can also do --all, and that will run all of my analyses. I can also put --jobs to ask TIS to run analysis in parallel. So I have a lot of tokens available and lots of CPU. So I'm going to run this. And what you'll see is that not all of them are in starting state. For a lot of those configurations, it says skipping. So this run will, by default, not run again analysis that it has already results for. So if you remember, I had a couple of analyses that didn't have results. And so it only ran these ones. So out of my 29 analyses, here it actually only ran 5 of them. So running all of that, so I got all of the results, all of the artifacts. I can now run this report, and that will run the TIS report utility and generate the HTML file. Something that I really like about the TrustInSoft Project Manager is I can put --open, and now when the report is ready, it will automatically jump into my favorite browser and open the report. So I don't have to fiddle with those Firefox or XDG open commands. I can just jump into the report as soon as it's ready. Every command or subcommand actually has its own dedicated help page. So for example, if you were wondering what this replay all was doing, well, you could do --help, and here you put into a sort of man page that tells you that TIS replay all is really just an alias for TIS clean, then TIS prepare to prepare the environment, then TIS run all and force, so force generation of all of the results, and then TIS report to generate a report. So this is typically the command that you would set in a CI. This one command, TIS replay all, would start from an empty environment and run all of the analyses and generate the artifacts that you want, so the analysis results and the TIS report. Okay, so let's get a bit technical. All of the results are saved automatically. If you remember the -TIS report option, it is set by default by the TrustInSoft Project Manager, so you don't have to set it again and you don't have to forget it again. Now, and so all of the results are stored in this TIS current folder. So here you can see for each analysis, if I take say SHA-256L1, I have again the result files that I usually would have. So all of the CSV and JSON files, they are stored here. So if you had made your own adapters using those files, you need to update them to use the new path that TrustInSoft Project Manager is using. And also something you can back up your results like this. So we have a functionality, this stash, again, very like Git stash. It's essentially a stack of save states of your analysis campaign. So here I can list the ones that I have, and you can see I have made a bunch of save states of my analysis results. It's a stack, so I can decide that I want to restore the last one here. That would be the latest one. But we will come back later to how this stash is actually useful with the TrustInSoft Project Manager. So the TrustInSoft Project Manager is really our dedication to shows really our dedication to UX, and it will be at the core of all of the future developments that we'll be doing. So existing tools that have already been developed are being integrated into the TrustInSoft Project Manager, even if that's not the case for all of them in 1.47. And all of the future developments, so all of the future tools and features, they will be developed first for TrustInSoft Project Manager, and then maybe we will think about a standalone implementation. So we really encourage you to start using the TrustInSoft Project Manager. And yeah, it will be the spearhead of our UX improvement, our user experience improvements. So it is not the case in 1.47. It's not ready yet, but it is already in development. There is a GUI that will be available in 1.48, where everything, all of the features of the TrustInSoft Project Manager will be available from a graphical interface. And we also plan to have that GUI portable in as many environments as possible. And obviously, the most requested one has been Microsoft Windows. So we are planning on having the TrustInSoft Project Manager integrated into Windows, so that you don't have to manage all of those WSL and SSH connections and so on. So that's it for the TrustInSoft Project Manager for now. We'll come back to it later. But yeah, it's been developed really to solve a classic problem that I, as a developer, often find myself in, which is I'm writing all of these commands and maybe I'm losing time because I have to type them, I have to remember them, I have to not forget a parameter, otherwise I need to run it again with the correct parameters. And maybe I would save time by having a script, but writing the script is itself a waste of time. So now you don't have to choose between messing up your commands or writing a script. The TrustInSoft Project Manager will be the one tool that you use to manage the commands that you write for the analyzer. So you don't have to type in this analyzer anymore. You don't have to put dash this report or dash GUI. All of that is completely integrated into the TrustInSoft Project Manager. So second feature that we would like to talk to you about is our AUTOSAR integration tool, this AUTOSAR. So for those of you, it might not concern all of you, AUTOSAR is a framework for application development in an automotive environment. So again, that's only a very specific industry, but this picture should speak to everyone. It's basically, it's just a framework that says where each abstraction should exist. And really what most people in the automotive industry are developing themselves would be here at the top. It would be the application layer. And you can see that this application layer only ever interacts with a runtime environment, which is provided by whoever is also providing all of the drivers and abstraction layers on top of the actual hardware. So typically, when you are developing your AUTOSAR application, you're using an authoring tool, which is interacting with your IDE. And the output of that authoring tool is, on the one hand, the sources, so all of the -h and -c files that represent the code of your application. And there's also an AUTOSAR XML file, or AR XML, which describes all of the interfaces of your application. So all of the functions that the application is going to call to get data in or out of the environment. And it also describes all of the errors that could happen, what type of data is going to pass through those functions, and so on. So the TrustInSoft integration tool will read that file, this AR.xml, and it will generate automatically not only an analysis configuration file, so you already have your analysis set up by this tool. It will also generate mockups for the runtime environment, and it will set up essentially a whole analysis harness where you can just take the output and feed it into TrustInSoft Analyzer with the sources, and now you have a full analysis of your AUTOSAR project in just 2 commands, right? You can right away get to an analysis report really quickly. Let's show a demo. So I will not do that with TinyCrypt because that's not an AUTOSAR project. So here I have a very small AUTOSAR application that we made internally for demonstration purposes. I want to reassure you, we have tested the tool on larger code bases, up to hundreds of thousands of lines of code. It's just that all of that was proprietary code. And so I cannot show it to you in a demo. For this demo, I sadly only have this very, very small application. But yeah, don't worry, it does scale quite well. So yeah, I have this very simple application. So what I can do to start to start analyzing this application, I will run the TIS AUTOSAR tool. So maybe the help, you can see a bunch of options, but the options that are interesting to me. So I will set an output directory, call it TrustInSoft. I will also tell the tool where to find my sources so that I don't have to tell it afterwards. And then I will tell it where my AR.xml files are. And here I only have one, so I can set it like this. So yeah, that's just one command. And I run it, and automatically, the integration tool has read the AR.xml files. It has found in there 2 things. The first is what are my application entry points, so the runnables in AUTOSAR parlance, and it has generated analyses for those runnables, those entry points, and it also found what were the RT functions that were used by this application. So all of the interaction that exist with the environment. And so yeah, here it's 5 RT stubs. I assure you, we have tested with literally tens of thousands of stubs in one project. So it does scale quite well. So everything has been put into this TrustInSoft folder. You can see here there's some header files that have been generated. There's my RT stubs.c file, which contain all of the RT mockups. There's this config.json, which contains my analysis configuration. But I don't need to be looking into any of that. I can just right away run TIS Analyzer, TIS config load, TrustInSoft config.json, TIS config select. So I will select the first one, although I only have one here, so it doesn't really matter. And you can see right away, it parsed properly, it ran the analysis, apparently found some signed overflows, and then also it automatically runs with the TIS report option. So it saves the results, and so now I can just do TIS report underscore results, and I have my TIS report. So that was just 3 commands, right? The TIS AUTOSAR mockup tool, running the analyzer on each of my analyses, and then running this report, and that's it. I have a report for my AUTOSAR project. So this is really a huge time saver, not only because it generates all of those all of that analysis configuration automatically, but also because it's able to leverage a lot of information from that AR.XML file. And so just for the anecdote, when we started working on this tool, we started with a project that we had already done an analysis by hand. And the first time I used the tool, it took me 5 minutes to generate an analysis that got to the same point as my colleague who had spent literally 1 month on it. So it's really a huge time saver to be able to generate all of that material, all of those stubs, all of that analysis configuration automatically instead of writing it by hand and having to deal with the imprecision, the false positives, and so on. And now everything is automated. Okay, next feature, third-party reporting. So this is also a feature that we've been asked about a lot. About integration with third-party compliance with the analyzer. So we have implemented it. So now you have a new option on TIS Analyzer, which is -30. You can also set it in your configuration files. And what it will do is it will generate a new kind of artifact in the results of the analyzer. And those artifacts are then integrated into the TIS report. And so you have a new tab in the TIS report called Standard Compliance, which for each rule will tell you if you're compliant, if you have violated the rule, or if the rule is unchecked. So I can actually show you that in this report that I generated in advance. So you can see at the top, so how many rules am I compliant with, how many have been violated, and how many have not been checked. You can also see the unsupported ones. So in total, there's 120 rules. And for now, we only support 49. Yeah, that's it. 49. So yeah, you have this report with all of the rules. So there's really two kinds of rules. There's rules for which we can check compliance right away. So there is already a check for it in the analyzer, and we didn't really have to change a lot of things to detect if you are compliant or not, which is also the case for these violated. You can also find some rules that we can check, but the check is not enabled by default. So for example, this rule, int30-c, it checks for unsigned integer overflow, and that's not UB, so that's not checked by default, but you can set an option of the analyzer to turn those into alarms, and we also leverage that for the standards compliance tab. So if you wanted to check that rule, you would know to set this option here that will put the actual check in the analysis, and now this gray light would be a red light or a green light, depending on whether or not you are compliant with it. And some of the undefined rules here also have this as a reason. Some alarms have been detected. So the reason for those is that some of those checks are actually very hard to do with the analyzer. And so our approach to this is to actually not have a specific check, but rationalize that if this rule was violated, there would be alarms. And so here, this rule technically is never checked. So we cannot tell you if you're compliant or not. But if there were no alarms in my report here, I go back to my summary, you can see I do have 2 analyses with alarms. I have 11 undefined behaviors identified. But yeah, if I had 0 alarms, here, this rule here would be compliant. So we cannot tell for sure that there is that this rule is compliant if there are still alarms. But if you have no alarms, then we know for sure that this rule is not violated, so it is compliant. And you also see, so in the list here, the unsupported ones. So yeah, for now we have implement 49 out of the 120. We plan on having more by 1.48, but for that I will advise you to talk more to our sales representatives. So fourth feature that we wanted to talk about, input coverage metric in the TIS report. So again, something that we wanted to have for a long time, because our so customers, when we do analysis for customers, they really like to know how much we generalize. So now we have a metric that actually quantifies how much generalization we did. So there's this new option, dash fun in out, that you set on TIS Analyzer, and you specify functions that you find interesting, that you want to target. And now in the TIS report, under the individual analysis tab, you will also have these tables that tell you for each functions what were the variables that are involved. So that's the parameters, but also the global values that affect the paths of this function. And it will tell you, well, when you enter this function, how much generalization did you do? So for example, this one, I can see that I have this structure S, and it's partially generalized. I only cover 2 to the power 576 possible values out of 2,704. So that's based on the size of the structure compared to the size of the generalized bits of the structure. You can see here I have this global array, and I only tried a single value. So yeah, it's giving me a generalization rate. I can actually show you that in the report. So it's under individual analysis. And here, so I have put this option fun in out on this analysis here. And now I have this tab input coverage, where I can see, so for the functions that I have marked as interesting, it's telling me in what context they were called. So for example, it looks like this function TC SHA-256 update was always called with single values. So maybe if I wanted to increase my generalization, now I know I can identify where I can improve the generalization using this tool. And I could also give a general grade about how much I generalized out of all of the possibilities that could have been for each of my parameters and the global variables that are involved in my function. Okay. Next feature, assisted analysis tuning in the GUI. So you will notice right away when you start using version 1.47 that we have added a new panel in the GUI. By default, it's not activated. It's on the left, right under the summary. So you will see it immediately. But by default, so yeah, not activated. You need to activate it with the option whole program graph, which you might already have been using if you were doing MCTC compliance. So yeah, you activate this whole program graph option, and now you have this additional box that gives you information about the program in the lead up to an alarm. So what functions were called, what variables were involved, what were the values of those variables. It will give you where precision was lost, why. It will even give you hints as to what the option you can set to not have this kind of loss of precision. So let me try that with my analysis where I save the results. So yeah, right away in the GUI, so you can see it's new panel on the left here, inspect alarm. And so what I can do is I can now go to an alarm, and I have this new button, inspect alarm. When I click on it, you can see that this panel now fills up. And so it's telling me what was the function flow. So I call test one, then I call TCAS set encrypt key, and then a bunch of stuff happened. And then I called rot word, and in function rot word is where I have my alarm. My alarm occurs because of initialized data in variable A, and I can see that when function rot word was called, variable A actually comes from a variable T. And if I look before, I can see that I am inside of a loop, and T has an initialized value and gets some value, but is still initialized. And I can also see that right before, I have here joining 4 states, joining 3 states, and every time it's because of S level. So what I can do is I can click on it. It will take me to the place where precision was lost. And indeed, I have a loop here. This is quite typical with the analyzer, that loops will require S level to be set to higher than the number of turns of the loop. So here, maybe to see if I can have these loops precise, I will increase the S level. So let me set it to 100. Run the value analysis again. And now I have no alarms. So the alarm inspector was right. It allowed me to really look at what the values were in the lead up to an alarm, what the values involved were, what the variables involved were. Before, what you would have had to do is identify which variable and do show defs and work your way back to the call. Maybe you had to focus a call stack and so on. That's finished with the alarm inspectors. The alarm inspector basically does all of that at once, and it shows you where you had loss of precision, where you had a weird value occur. And so you really didn't have to move from this rot word function to see all of that in the inspect alarm panel. So that's really a lifesaver. This is a feature that I really like a lot in my analysis work, because really it's so much faster than working out the call stack and the variables involved and so on. I can just say, here I have a weird value, I have null, for example, and I can see right away where null appeared in the analysis. Okay, that's it for the alarm inspector. So sixth and the final feature that we wanted to talk to you about is this analysis campaign trends report with this trend. So my PowerPoint bugged, sorry. Let me try that again. Oof. Okay, that's better. So I told you earlier about this stash, the fact that you can save a snapshot of an analysis campaign. Well, so that's a snapshot of one campaign. So what you would have maybe a TIS report on. Well, now we have a new type of report called trends. You generate it with this trend. It's integrated into the TrustInSoft Project Manager. And that's because this one relies on the stashes, the snapshots that you've made. So it's giving you statistics about your campaigns as you are going through time, whereas the report is only telling you about your analysis within one campaign. So to generate that report, I will use this trend. Very much like this report, I can also put -- open. And actually, I will do that because it's a little longer, especially because I have lots of results here for this demonstration to compile. Should be coming up any second now. I should have measured so that I could anticipate how long it takes actually. Okay. So yeah, -- open, just like with this report, it automatically opens it in my favorite browser. So here you can see I have this trend report. You can see that I have 10 campaigns that have been compiled here. That's why it took so long. I can see when I started doing my campaign and when I stopped my last campaign. I can see the evolution of function coverage over time. So here, here I have both covered and uncovered function. I can also show as a percentage over time. Same thing with the number of statements. So you can see it goes up, but then plateaus quite a lot. And same, I can do that as a percentage report. I also have my number of alarms. So here I can see that I started with some alarms, then I went to 0, and then I think that's when I jumped to level 2, and now I have 154 alarms. But now most of them are fixed, and I'm back to 4 alarms. We saw some of those earlier. And then I also have this nice graph with the 3 typical colors that we also put in the report. So in black, that's the analysis that fail, for which there are no results. In red, that's the analysis that terminate, but with alarms. And in green, that's the analysis that terminate without any alarm. So you can see here, I have mostly green, so that's mostly good. I can also have a focused view on each of those graphs. So here, I only have functions, the total and the percentages. I can also download the data as a CSV if I wanted. Same thing for statement coverage. So the total graph and then the percentage graph can also download as CSV. Here, the number of alarms. And I also that nice colored graph about the type of each analysis. And the most important feature of that trend report, I can also compare two analyses. So for example, here, if I wanted to compare from the start, when I started my campaigns, to my latest campaign, I can see that the number of analyses went up by 18. The number of analyses without alarm really shot up, while the analysis with alarm went down, but also the alarms that are failing went up. I can see the evolution in function coverage, in statement coverage, in line coverage. So yeah, that's it. That's a brand new type of report. We hope that you'll make good use of it. If you want to add something to this, please tell us about it. We are developing this trend report, so we are really looking forward to your feedback and your suggestions as to what we could put in this report. Yeah, that's it for the features that I wanted to present. Yeah, so thank you for listening to me. I am right on time. So now we have 10, 15 minutes for questions, or I can go back on any of the features, and we will be able to answer your questions, hopefully. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Clément, for this nice presentation. We truly hope you enjoy this presentation of these new features of the latest version of TrustInSoft Analyzer. Now it's time for you. If you have any questions about this presentation, or maybe other remarks you would like to share, don't hesitate to share with us.
I am not yet a user, so
Yes.
I'm curious whether anybody who is a user, the audience, would like to tell me what features they're most excited about or have been waiting for, or is going to make the biggest difference in their use of TrustInSoft.
I can take it on if you want. Can you guys hear me? It's okay.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
So the trend, the TIS trend report is pretty interesting, I think, from management perspective, because this is really a tool for experts, and you need expert developers to be able to, use this tool here. And like they really have here create features to make it easier to access and easier to understand. So this project manager will be one of them to kickstart your writing the test drivers, or like the analysis drivers easier, for sure, and manage your project easier. And the trend is really interesting because in my case, actually, it's very hard to make upper manager understand what is the progress of your work using the TrustInSoft tools. Because you might have a lot of UBs, undefined behaviors, and then this number might go up and down and very unstably, and it's very hard to explain them what's happening, because you improve maybe your analysis driver quality, and then suddenly it spikes up, but in fact it's a good sign, and this will show the trends over the time, and it's very easy, yeah, for like management people to read out, and this will be so useful.
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely one of the reasons why we developed this. It was definitely a strong customer needs, and even internally in TrustInSoft. In fact, there are two, let's say, two benefits for the trends. One, first will be during the development phase of your analysis driver, for sure, because you can see the evolution of the number of analyses, number of alarms also, which may vary during the development, and also the increase of coverage during the development part. So that's the first phase during the development, I would say, of the analysis driver. Now, when the development of the analysis is over and this is stabilized and running into a CI, this will help you also to see immediately the evolution of your coverage against code update of your CI. So this is also one configuration we are having also with many customers who are running on daily basis the analysis on their code. And running the analysis on their code update during the development life cycle. And then they can see if there is suddenly an increase of the number of alarms, meaning that maybe there are some code updates generating some new issues which require require focus in terms of quality and code review. And if you can also assess the code evolution. If you increase the size of your code, you may also expect lower code coverage, which you will be able to monitor thanks to the trends, and then you will be able to trigger some development of new analysis to cover the additional code you have pushed into your repository. So there are the two phases of the trends. Once during the development phase, as it was mentioned by you, definitely a good advantage to monitor the progress of the development. And also when you are in continuous integration phase, to monitor the evolution of the code and eventually trigger some maintenance of the analysis against new code update. Or detect new issues also, by the way. As requested by Eric, maybe do we have other customers who would like to share their feedbacks about the new features? Or if you have other questions, or you would like to have a specific focus on the feature we demonstrated by Clément?
Oh, sure, I have a few questions. So do you have any news or like an update about qualification for these features? Because in the case you need a qualified tool, these features are really amazing, but in my understanding, they are not qualified so far. So do you have any news about this, or is it, are there any plans or something like this?
So as a general rule, we do not plan on qualifying all of the features of the analyzer because some of those features are unsound. And so you can make a specific request about maybe qualifying a specific tool out of, or a specific feature out of everything that I presented. But yeah, did you have any specific feature that you wanted to go over? And
Are you referring about the availability of the release of these features, or you are referring to specific certification like automotive certification or something like that?
Automotive certification, definitely. Yeah.
So I guess it's about ISO 26262.
Yeah, 26262, definitely. For instance, could the T-strand feature could be somehow qualified and backported or something like this?
So I think for this one, maybe I will leave it to Jason, maybe to reply. There are some, I think the ISO, I will speak under the control of yourself, Jason, but I guess the certification for ISO 26262 is mainly focused on the analyzer itself, for which we are getting a certification. I would say that the trends is a companion, I would say, to the analyzer, which collects the output of the analyzer, or the results of the analyzer, to aggregate all these results and display them in a more high level and more synthetic manner. So, for example, coming back on the trends, this does not impact at all the analyzer itself and will not let's say, modify or impact the certification of the analyzer, which is the core of our product. You should see the trends tool as a companion of the analyzer, not something which is very intrusive into the analyzer. It's something which aggregates the output of the analyzer. So there is no impact with the certification itself.
Okay, that's good news.
And as mentioned by Clément, we have sometimes we have some intermediate release of the analyzer, which are not necessarily certified systematically. But here, the 1.47 is a major release of the product, so where we plan to have, I guess, a certification.
I really invite you to write a ticket to ask about certification, maybe more specifically, which tool do you intend to use in a qualified way? And our experts on ISO 26262 will be able to answer you.
All right, sure, thank you.
Running out of time now, just at this 1 hour session. So if you don't have any additional question, we thank you very much for attending this webinar. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you have any feedback you would like to share with us about information that you are maybe expecting, which were not presented or communicated here, feel free to reach out to us. We'll be pleased to have your feedback about that. And I hope you will enjoy this new version of TrustInSoft Analyzer, which will be available by I think by next week. I think latest.
By the end of the month is the latest information I got from R&D.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Thanks for your time. Thanks for attending this webinar, and hope you will enjoy it and talk to you very soon. Thank you very much.